We are in the midst of the transfer portal madness. We're going to buy and sell some rumors and some potential players to come to Arizona State on this edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Thanks as always for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. Wherever you're getting your podcast, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to get an update whenever we post new content. You can stay in touch with that content by following me on Twitter. You can find me at RichieBrads36 and the podcast as well at LO_Sun Devils. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every potential new hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Get started. Terms and conditions apply. All right, we are in the midst of the madness that is the NCAA Transfer Portal, and we have already seen quite a bit of movement, not just for Arizona State, which has seen a lot of guys come in and a lot of guys come out just within the last week, but across all of college football, there's been some huge names to hit the portal, and that's where we're going to start this conversation today, is looking at some of the guys that make sense, some of the guys that don't make sense for Arizona State. We're going to buy and sell. We're going to go through. We're going to say these guys make sense. These guys don't make sense. So we'll go ahead and start with the adding another quarterback aspect of it, because I think that this is a really interesting place to start our conversation. Is, should Arizona State look to add another quarterback? Right now they have Jaden Rashada on the roster, the redshirt freshman, very highly recruited 4-star quarterback. Upside through the roof, big arm, athletic ability to beat you as a runner. He's got it all, seemingly. Trenton Bourguet is back. He is going to be the veteran in this locker room as the senior on the team. He's been with the program for, I think, 5 years. Might be 6 years at this point, but he's going to be the biggest leader that the team has on either side of the football. And then the team just added quarterback Sam Leavitt from Michigan State, a former 4-star prospect, also in last year's quarterback class. So same class as Jaden Rashada. The good news with Leavitt coming in is that he essentially would not be able to transfer until he becomes a graduate player again. He could, but he would have to sit out a year. This is his one free transfer that he has. So you really like that you have Jaden Rashada, and you have Leavitt coming in. So if for some reason Rashada decided to leave, you at least have an option who would be here to be able to learn the ropes. And then you have Bourguet for this season, which, again, I think that's really important. The question is, are you done? Do you still look to add another quarterback? Here's my thing. If you do, I think you're looking at smaller names, because there's still big names out there like Cam Ward and Will Rogers, but I don't foresee the Sun Devils, literally breaking the bank for those guys, because that's something you really have to consider here. Is a lot of these guys are probably looking for NIL opportunities. And right now, Arizona State doesn't have that. We're working on it, but we don't have it yet. Two names that I personally have speculated about, one of them very recently I have brought up, and I want to bring up again because I think it's still worth having the conversation, is Ty Thompson and Dante Moore. We'll start with Thompson. Thompson feels like the easiest piece to connect to Arizona State. Recruited by Kenny Dillingham, played at Oregon, where Dillingham was his offensive coordinator for a year. Former standout at Mesquite High School, Valley kid, top Arizona prospect a couple of years ago. A borderline 5-star, depending on where you're looking, he would have been a 5-star or very high 4-star. A very talented quarterback. Somebody who gave a lot of patience and time to Oregon because he redshirted as a freshman behind Anthony Brown and sat 2 years behind Bo Nix. He would have thought that this was going to be his opportunity, but instead the team brings in Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma and Thompson hits the portal. And again, it's just so easy to make all these connections to Ty Thompson. So that's where we stand with Thompson. Is it feels like a perfect fit. Whether or not that happens, we'll see. Dante Moore, the very, very exciting one. The former 5-star recruit, tied with 3 other players for the number 1 spot in the nation with a perfect 1.0 rating on 24/7. Depending on where you looked, he might have been the number 1 quarterback. He was very, very good. Last year, plays at UCLA, up and down year, looked like a freshman. What a surprise. 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, appeared in 9 games. I thought he looked solid. Decides to hit the transfer portal. Again, easy to connect the dots because he committed to Oregon initially, largely, because of Kenny Dillingham. And then more decommits from Oregon the moment that Kenny Dillingham takes the Arizona State job. We begin connecting those dots that maybe more comes to Arizona State. That didn't end up coming to fruition. He decides to go to UCLA, and now he is transferring out of UCLA after 1 year. I don't know that I blame him. I feel like the Bruins program under Chip Kelly can be very volatile, and I don't know that that was ever going to be a perfect fit for him. What I'm curious about is, would he still be interested in playing with Kenny Dillingham? Because from my understanding, Dante Moore is a lot more interested in being developed and becoming a great quarterback to go to the next level. And I feel like Dillingham gives him that opportunity. I think he thinks that too, because that's the reason he went to Oregon. And as soon as Dilly leaves, he leaves Oregon too. That makes me wonder if these guys are legit possibilities. It's not just like grabbing the biggest names out there. There's a reason I didn't say we're in on Cameron Ward. I don't think we're in on Cameron Ward. I don't think we're even close. Will Rogers, I don't think we're remotely an option. These two, Thompson and Moore, do I think so? Right now, I have to sell. And I really don't want to. But the problem is you brought in Sam Leavitt. And with him here, I just don't see any way that you're going to bring in another quarterback. And with these two especially, they could be looking for NIL opportunities. And you're going to be tied with Bourget and you're going to be tied with Jaden Rashada on NIL. And Rashada is going to be looking for quite a bit of NIL, I would imagine. Like, that was one of the big driving forces at Florida that ended up falling through, was the false promises of NIL. I know that he wanted to be patient his first year at Arizona State because Kenny Dillingham didn't necessarily want to give these kids instant money and gratification. He wanted them to earn it. I think that Rashad is going to start being interested in getting those NIL opportunities, and who could blame him? I would want to as well. If I came to want to prove myself and have stuck it out for a year, I've shown the potential and everything. Like, I'm not saying he's like a superstar yet. I do think he can get there. It's very well documented how high I am on Jaden Rashada, but he's going to be looking for NIL. Bourget's got some NIL opportunities. You already don't have a great NIL base. Can you afford Ty Thompson? Can you afford Dante Moore? I don't know that you can. And it sucks because I would love to bring one of those guys in. Another thing you have to consider, though, is you bring one of those two in, is Rashada gone? I brought this up on Saturday when I was talking about Ty Thompson potentially coming here. If Thompson or Moore come, I don't know that I envision a scenario where Rashada stays. And it's unfortunate because I know there's a lot of fans out there that do not like Jaden Rashada. And I don't think it's warranted, personally. But if he left, I don't know how I feel about that for the image of this program. I'm not saying it's like the worst thing ever. I just feel like it might not be the best thing to do right now. I don't know. I'm kind of really mixed on all of it because obviously I would love to bring in Ty Thompson. I would love to bring in Dante Moore. But if it came at the cost of Jaden Rashada, that's where I'm kind of tough on it, because Moore looked promising. Thompson has had a lot of time, but Rashada already has a year under his belt with Kenny Dillingham. And as I have said before, when you think about Kenny Dillingham right now, the first thing you think of is Jaden Rashada. That is the player that is going to be tied to the legacy of Kenny Dillingham for quite some time. It was his first prized possession, and it was a big name quarterback. That is going to be the guy that we think about for a long time. And if he only lasted 3 games at Arizona State, I just feel like that's a really tough sell moving forward. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm overthinking it. It totally could be the case. Bottom line, as much as I would love to add more quarterback depth, I just don't know right now how feasible that really is. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top-tier candidates as possible to interview. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has all the tools to find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just any other job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals. 1 billion, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many qualified candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours of posting. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have time or resources to hire. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, and easy. They even launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. I've brought this up before, but I want to continue bringing it up to you guys. Locked On has the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here, 24/7, covering the top stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league from football, hockey, basketball, and baseball. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Let's go ahead and get back into our conversation now and take a look at the not quarterback position, specifically looking at the weapons along the offensive unit. There's really 2 guys in particular that I want to mention here. One of which is gaining some major steam right now. And if you haven't heard yet, then I will be more than happy to be the one to inform you. The other one, a lot more speculation. We'll go ahead and start with the one who is gaining steam, and I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. I am buying this. I'm not just buying it. I am putting a lot of faith and a lot of whatever, pretend money. Take all my Monopoly money. This is going to happen. Raleek Brown, running back, USC, 2022 recruit darling, who's a top 50 recruit in the nation. He might have been higher than that. Has played 2 seasons at USC. I think he was able to redshirt this past year. He only played in 3 games. He is a game changer. And I think USC wanted to use him more as a wide receiver, and I think he wants to play running back, which I think is one of the reasons that he's kind of been driven out of USC. ASU is making a huge precedent to go after this kid. Just within the last 24 hours, we've been hearing that ASU is going to be pouring in lots and lots and lots of resources to be bringing Raleek Brown to this program. He's taking an official visit over the weekend. 24/7 Sports has given ASU a 100% crystal ball commitment from Raleek Brown. Everything sounds pointed in that right direction. That's the reason why I'm absolutely buying this, is because everything that I'm understanding is pointing him in the right direction. But let me explain why it makes sense from an ASU perspective. ASU last year had some really, really solid players on offense. Elijah Badger, borderline superstar. Cameron Scadaboo, borderline superstar. But after that, it was a lot of up and down. Troy O'Mary had some highs, he had some lows. DeCarlos Brooks could not stay on the field consistently. Kyson Brown was a freshman. He just needs some time to get his feet underneath him. Xavier Guillory phased out towards the end of the year and then missed the tail end of his season with injury. Jalen Conyers is gone. You are looking for more superstars to add here. And Raleek Brown presents you with that kind of player. I think he's also got a little bit of potential special teams prowess. When you talk about a guy who's 5'8" and is lightning fast, it's easy to make that connection. And ASU is looking for those guys right now to plug into their special teams play. Elijah Badger's great. I don't know if I want him out there all the time. Raleek Brown, I feel like he's one of those guys where you want to manufacture touches for him. Special teams, running, catching, whatever. This feels like a guy that is just lightning in a bottle. If and when Arizona State lands this kid, you are going to be so talented, man. Because you got to remember that their running back room is already really loaded, because you've got Kyson Brown, you've got Cameron Scadaboo, you got DeCarlos Brooks, you're bringing in Jason Brown, the 4-star out of Washington. Like, this is a loaded running back room. So you look at a guy like Kyson Brown, and it's like, we're going to have to find a way to get him touches, but in a Kenny Dillingham offense, that doesn't feel like the most difficult thing in the world. I'm buying this, 100% buying it. I'm putting all my Monopoly money on it. What are they doing? Fortnite V-Bucks? I don't play Fortnite. I do play Mortal Kombat, the little red gems or whatever. You get my point. I'm putting a lot of stock into this. Then there's the other player that I'm interested in. And I'm teetering on sell, but it's also because I don't know if Arizona State is really overly interested, and that's Julian Fleming. Fleming is a wide receiver from Ohio State, one of the few guys who was not able to be quote-unquote developed at the program. He was very much overshadowed despite being a 5-star recruit, one of the highest 5-star recruit receivers that the program has had in the last 5 years. He's a stud. He's built like an NFL receiver at 6'2", quality route runner, quality catcher. He's one of those, like, what does he do elite? I don't really know. What does he do good? Just about everything. Arizona State, in my opinion, should be a team that is in play for him. You just had Andre Johnson enter the portal today. You are, oh God, who's gone? Yes, Guillory's back. Jake Smith is back. Elijah Badger should be back. He could still declare for the draft, though, which would create an even bigger need at the position. I know you've got guys coming in like Elijah Besa. To me, what Fleming brings for you is a veteran guy, because he's a senior. He's been around a program that knows how to win, and he's still very talented. Just because he hasn't reached his potential at Ohio State doesn't mean that he's suddenly not a good football player. Quite the contrary. I think that Julian Fleming still has quite a bit left in the tank. And whoever does end up landing him, I think they're going to get a quality receiver. I don't know if he's a first-round pick. I don't know if he's like this elite number one guy. But I do know that he is a very good locker room guy, and I know that he is somebody that I would feel confident building a room around and having him mentor those young guys. That's the way I envision Julian Fleming, and it's one of the reasons why I think Arizona State, if they haven't, should show some interest in him. Will they? I have no idea. I can barely keep up with this stuff. This is all speculation. End of the day, you ask me to buy or sell. I am selling, I guess, but I still think that there could be an outside shot that you take a look at him. I just want Arizona State to continue being as aggressive as they have been. Part of being aggressive to me would be going after these big name players. Julian Fleming would be one of those guys, but believe me when I tell you that there's quite a few big names that are still out there, some former 5 stars and whatnot that are in the transfer portal right now that I would love to see the Sun Devils be aggressive and try and throw their name in the hat for them. I want to talk to you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide variety of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Again, I want to throw out to you guys the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Top stories of the day, all of our national shows covering football, basketball, baseball, hockey. We got it all 24/7. Go to the channel on YouTube, subscribe and follow. Check it out for yourself. It's the first ever of its kind. Wrapping it up, I got 4 big names. And when I say big, I mean big names. Most of these guys, yes, it's going to be a sell. But there is one player in particular that I think Arizona State does have a shot at. We'll go ahead and start with the biggest name here, and that's Walter Nolan, former number 2 prospect in the 2022 class. He's a defensive tackle from Texas A&M. Has decided to enter the portal. He's coming off a 4-sack season. He is a certified monster. This is the guy that you would want to plug in as your replacement for Deshaun Mallory, and then continue to rotate CJ Fiden, have the young guys like Tristan Monday and Sam Benjamin contribute as well. Walter Nolan would come in and instantly be one of the best players on the defense period, let alone the defensive line, but he'd also be that all-terrain kind of player. We have seen how important Nesta Jade Silvera was in 2022 and Deshaun Mallory was in 2023. From that interior perspective of being able to clog up the line. Neither of them were like elite pass rushers, but they were both instrumental in being able to get everyone to line up, to do their assignment, to stop the run, move around the line of scrimmage very quickly. Like, they were much better athletes than given credit for. They were so important to what the defensive line was trying to do. Walter Nolan would be as good as them. At worst, he would come in and be as good as them. That is a floor. His ceiling feels unlimited. He is going to be able to take his pick where he wants to go. And quite frankly, he's going to go to a big school. Georgia, Oregon, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan. He's going to get offers from those big teams. There's no doubt in my mind that every single program is going to be trying to get Walter Nolan, and that does include Arizona State. Do they have a fair shake? I don't know. The one thing that they do have going for them is you've got, I totally just blanked, Brian Ward as your defensive coordinator, who's had that success and that prowess developing those defensive linemen. That's going to be a very attractive attribute to kind of throw in the direction of Walter Nolan. And when you have something like that to advertise, guys notice. So it could happen, but it feels like a snowball's chance, and I'm selling, but I would be remiss to not bring it up. Nyland Green, next guy I want to bring up, cornerback from Georgia, high 4-star kid coming out. Arizona State has a need in the secondary. Ro Torrance is gone. D Ford is gone. Chris Edmonds is gone. The team just needs bodies in general, but Nyland Green would be a day one starter for you. And it's not as though you haven't added some players to that back end. You brought in the corner from LSU. I have him here as soon as I can find him. LaTerrence Welch. You do have him. He's likely someone that you can plug in and start immediately, but adding Nyland Green would be another really important piece to potentially get the starter across from him. 2 very high upside kids, both SEC kids, both highly recruited kids. You'd love to see it. Ask me to buy or sell. I'm probably selling, but this would be, besides Nolan, this would be one of the bigger names that I would be throwing my name in the ring. Two more guys I want to talk about. Chase Besantis, the offensive tackle, former 4-star, Texas A&M, recruited as an interior lineman. He's going in as an offensive tackle, I believe. This is somebody that I would love to see prioritized for Arizona State. The offensive line in general is just a unit that Arizona State really needs to put a lot of emphasis into trying to get better, upgrade, and provide depth for. Right now, Arizona State is kind of in on a handful of guys in the portal. They haven't landed a guy yet. Besantis feels like the perfect opportunity to land that game-changing kind of guy on the offensive line. And I think ASU has some quality players. Lee Fontanu, Bram Walden. I feel like those are really good cornerstones for your offensive line. But you had a guy like Besantis there. He feels kind of like your Joey Ramos, where he could be a tackle or a guard, whatever. Swing him out, just plug him in, and he's one of your best linemen. That's where I'm at with Chase Besantis. And I hope that ASU is really going to be in on him, ask me to buy or sell. I'm really in the middle. I just don't know how many big names are going to be interested in Arizona State until you've got legit NIL. This is someone that I think ASU is going to be all in on. I just don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off. Last guy I want to mention, Andrew Makuba, safety from Clemson. I actually had no idea he entered the transfer portal for a handful of days. And then I found out, and I was like, hey, ASU should go after him. And lo and behold, it sounds like ASU is making a push for him. And it makes all the sense in the world. Same as what I just brought up for Nyland Green. ASU is going through a lot of transition and turnover in the secondary. They're looking for a lot of new faces to be able to step up, a lot of new faces to be able to seize starting roles, or at worst, big-time roles and opportunities for the team. What they need is more veterans back there. Shamari Simmons is back. Great news. Xavier Alford is going to be returning. Also great news, because he missed last year from the BS ruling of the NCAA. You've got Montana Warren coming back. I'm very high on him, but he missed all his freshman year with injury. Makuba, man, that would be something to get excited about. For me, I look at Makuba as a safety, but I am very aware that Makuba can play everywhere. I believe he was an ACC defensive freshman of the year, playing corner. He's a beast. A 2-time ACC player of the year. Like, this is a beast. When I say player of the year, I mean like their teams, like the all ACC team. That's what I meant. He's a beast. He is a certified stud, future NFL player, potential first-round pick. This is the guy that I would be all in on. Besides Raleek Brown, I think Andrew Makuba would be at the top of my list across the rest of the board. And I am buying that ASU's in on this kid. I know that guys have made pitches to him. I know that ASU has shown some interest in him. Of the top names that I listed, of those 4 big names, Makuba feels like the guy that I am most confident in saying ASU is going to be making a very big push for him. I do think he is at least a little bit realistic for the team, but we will wait and see. I'm curious who you guys want to see come into the program. Do you want more quarterbacks? What do you think of Raleek Brown? What do you think of the big names I mentioned? Who do you think is going under the radar that Arizona State could add through the transfer portal? Let me know in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter as well. You can find me at Richie Bradshaw 36 and the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. But I appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Wherever you get your podcast, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. We'll be back tomorrow, and we will be here for the rest of the week, including Saturday, to make up for no episode yesterday. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Till then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.